By day 4 of the trial, the courtroom had shifted from tense to explosive, with every moment crackling like a live wire. Bombshell revelations kept dropping, tearing apart the fragile veneer of control. Accusations of abuse, manipulation, and even sex trafficking erupted like a storm, setting the stage for something much bigger than anyone expected. But then Cassie took the stand, and everything changed. The chaos quieted instantly. No more whispers, no more speculation, just raw, unfiltered truth spoken under oath. She didn't just hint at pain, she detailed it. She didn't suggest fear, she lived it. And the names she dropped? Some of the biggest power players in music and entertainment, shifting the spotlight far beyond Diddy to an entire industry built on silence and control. Cassie's testimony wasn't just a personal account. It was a seismic warning shot fired at a system designed to protect predators and silence victims. She painted a chilling picture of a life lived in chains, drug-fueled breakdowns, hidden cameras lurking in the shadows, and a constant atmosphere of fear and manipulation. Every detail she shared rattled the courtroom and sent shockwaves through Hollywood's glossy facade. The stories were so vivid and damning, they forced everyone watching to confront the dark underbelly of fame and power. This was no longer a simple trial about individual wrongdoing. It was an unmasking of a toxic culture that thrives in the shadows, where secrets are currency and victims are expendable. The stakes have never been higher, and as this trial unfolds, the truth grows more dangerous and more explosive. What Cassie revealed is just the tip of the iceberg, a crack in the dam holding back years of abuse and corruption. Viewers should buckle up, because with every new piece of testimony, the walls of deception are closing in tighter. This isn't just courtroom drama, it's a reckoning. A moment that could rewrite how we see power, fame, and justice in the entertainment world. Stick around, because the deeper this story digs, the more shocking the revelations get. To truly grasp the explosive impact of Cassie's testimony on day 4, you have to rewind just 24 hours back to day 3, the moment everything exploded open. That's when Cassie stepped up to the stand for the very first time, facing the jury with unflinching courage. What she revealed wasn't just testimony, it was a seismic shockwave that rippled through the courtroom. Cassie locked eyes with the jurors and dropped a bombshell. Diddy didn't just hurt her once or twice, he abused her relentlessly for years. The courtroom held its breath as she laid bare a devastating story of control, fear, and manipulation that few dared to speak aloud. She painted a haunting picture of a life trapped under Diddy's thumb, describing how she was drugged and isolated, forced into what she called freak-off parties, secretive, sinister gatherings where women, often heavily intoxicated or drugged, were made to perform for Diddy and his inner circle. Even more horrifying was her claim that some of these moments were recorded without her consent, turning her trauma into permanent, invasive evidence. The idea that these private horrors were captured on camera sent chills through everyone watching, hinting at a hidden world of abuse lurking beneath the glitz and glamour of the entertainment industry. But the prosecution wasn't done dismantling the facade. They shocked the courtroom by playing chilling video footage from a 2016 hotel hallway in Los Angeles. Silence fell as jurors and spectators alike watched Diddy violently assault Cassie, throwing objects, dragging her down the hall, all while security stood by, doing nothing. The raw, brutal footage left no room for doubt or denial. Outside the courtroom, witnesses reported audible gasps, the kind of shock that makes you question everything you thought you knew. This was not a story of rumors or hearsay. This was cold, undeniable evidence of violence. Yet Cassie's testimony revealed this violent episode was just one piece of a much darker, more pervasive nightmare. She testified to countless other incidents, deep wounds that couldn't be seen, moments she kept hidden out of fear. Her chilling explanation for staying silent? You don't leave Diddy, you survive him. Those words hit like a thunderclap, revealing the iron grip he had on her life. A grip so suffocating that escape seemed impossible. The courtroom was left grappling with the terrifying reality of power used to trap and silence. This trial isn't just about one woman's suffering or one man's alleged crimes. It's a crack in the polished veneer of the entertainment world, exposing a culture of secrecy, fear, and abuse that has long been hidden behind closed doors. Cassie's testimony has set off a chain reaction, challenging the entire industry's facade and forcing a reckoning that could change everything. For anyone who thinks fame means safety or justice, this trial is a wake-up call. Stick around, because as more layers are peeled back, the truth grows darker, and the fallout could be earth-shattering. By the end of day 3, the courtroom atmosphere had shifted so dramatically that no one left untouched. The tension was palpable, the energy thick with the weight of truths finally coming to light. And as day 4 began, it became clear to everyone present that Cassie's explosive testimony was just the opening salvo. The trial was far from over, and the revelations that awaited promised to be even more shocking, more raw, and far more dangerous for all involved. Viewers watching from home would soon witness a battle that wasn't just about one woman or one man, but about control, power, and the desperate fight over who gets to tell the story. Day 4 opened beneath a cloud of tension so dense, it felt like the courtroom itself was holding its breath. Before Cassie even took her place on the stand again, the judge called both legal teams to order, signaling the start of a fierce confrontation. The source of this new battle? A trove of Cassie's old text messages, private conversations that Diddy's defense team was hell-bent on bringing into the spotlight. These texts weren't just words on a screen, they were weapons, and the defense believed they could shift the entire narrative by painting a starkly different picture of Cassie's character and intentions. Diddy's lawyers wasted no time arguing that these messages revealed jealousy, possible infidelity, and what they called inconsistencies in Cassie's version of events. They claimed these texts were critical for context, trying to portray Cassie not as a victim, but as a willing participant, or at least someone with questionable motives. It was a ruthless, calculated strategy designed to muddy the waters and chip away at her credibility, hoping to turn the courtroom's sympathy into doubt. The defense was essentially attempting to rewrite the story, shifting blame and casting shadows over Cassie's painful revelations. But this was more than just a legal fight. It was a battle for the truth itself. Cassie's side warned that introducing these texts risked distracting from the core issue, the years of abuse and control she endured. The courtroom braced for a clash where every detail would be dissected, every word weaponized. This wasn't just about personal drama anymore. It was a high-stakes war over who gets to define reality. And as the tension mounted, everyone knew that what happened next could make or break the entire case. For viewers, the unfolding drama on day 4 was a front-row seat to a legal and emotional showdown, unlike any other. The stakes couldn't be higher, and every moment mattered. Would Cassie's testimony withstand the defense's assault? Could the truth break through the smokescreen of manipulation and doubt? Stick around, because the trial was entering its most intense phase yet, and the revelations to come promised to be explosive, unsettling, and absolutely unmissable. The prosecution wasn't about to let Diddy's defense team rewrite the narrative without a fight. They struck back fast and hard, accusing the defense of launching a blatant character attack designed to discredit Cassie and derail the focus of the case. Citing a strict pretrial agreement meant to shield Cassie from personal smears, the prosecution reminded the judge that this trial wasn't about who Cassie texted, what she wore, or any attempt to paint her as anything other than a victim. This case, they insisted, is about what was done to her. The courtroom crackled with tension as the battle lines were drawn sharply, making it clear the fight for truth was far from over. Meanwhile, Cassie herself was notably absent from the courtroom drama, likely protected from the intense back and forth. But Diddy was very much present and strategic. Surrounded by family members who understood every inch of the optics, he sat with an air of controlled calm. His mother was expressionless in the gallery, his sons close by his side, and in a carefully staged moment, his twin daughters appeared dressed in elegant prom gowns. This wasn't coincidence. It was a deliberate image crafted to soften his public persona, showing him as a devoted family man rather than the alleged abuser at the center of the storm. The visual sent a clear message to the jury and the public alike, but the prosecution saw right through the veneer. The prosecution remained unfazed by the family tableau or the defense's attempts to complicate the story. They were preparing for something far bigger. Cassie was about to return to the stand, and what she was about to reveal promised to shake the courtroom to its core. The atmosphere thickened with anticipation as everyone understood the significance of this moment. It wasn't just another testimony. It was a turning point that could redefine the entire case and expose truths that no one was ready to confront. When Cassie re-entered the courtroom, silence fell like a heavy curtain. No flashes, no murmurs, just a tense, expectant crowd waiting for her next words. This time, she wasn't there to tell her story on her own terms. She was bracing for the defense's cross-examination. The tension was electric as defense attorney Ana Estabo rose smoothly, poised and unshaken, ready to dismantle Cassie's testimony piece by piece. The shift in energy was immediate, signaling a new battleground where every word, every hesitation could change the game. Viewers watching this unfold are witnessing more than just courtroom drama. They're watching a high-stakes war over truth, reputation, and power. The fight isn't just legal, it's deeply personal and brutally strategic. As the cross-examination begins, the question hanging in the air is clear. Will Cassie withstand the pressure, or will the defense succeed in casting doubt on her harrowing story? Stick around because the next chapters of this trial promise revelations, confrontations, and twists that no one will want to miss. Estabo opened her cross-examination with a tone that was almost disarmingly gentle. Ms. Ventura, you were with Mr. Combs for over a decade, correct? Cassie nodded, steady and composed. Yes, 11 years. Right from the start, the defense was laying the groundwork to reshape the narrative, not as a straightforward case of victim and abuser, but as a complex, tangled relationship between two people with a long, intimate history. Cassie's choice of words was telling. She referred to him as Sean, not the public personas Diddy or Puff Daddy. That small but deliberate detail was a defense tactic designed to humanize the man on trial and soften the harshness of the allegations. Then came the text messages, old, personal, and surprisingly tender. Estabo read aloud messages where Cassie expressed longing, pride, even affection for Diddy. To an outsider, these texts might seem like any normal couple's exchanges, almost sweet in their sentiment. But Cassie did not falter. She acknowledged those moments of warmth, but drew a firm, unwavering line. Love doesn't mean safety, she said, her voice steady but resolute. Those moments don't erase what he did to me. The courtroom held a collective breath as she explained the twisted nature of abusive relationships, how trauma can warp memories and how love and fear can exist in the same space, often indistinguishable. Estabo intensified her questioning, probing for inconsistencies in Cassie's timeline and motives. She suggested that bitterness or regret might be driving Cassie to rewrite history, casting doubt on her version of events. But Cassie remained unshaken, standing her ground with quiet strength. This was no petty argument over memories. It was a harrowing story of survival and endurance against overwhelming odds. The jury hung on every word, sensing the raw, painful truth beneath the surface, while the defense's polished confidence began to show cracks. As the cross-examination neared its end, the atmosphere in the courtroom grew electric with tension. The prosecution was ready to step back in, signaling that Cassie still had one more revelation, a powerful bombshell that promised to shatter the courtroom's fragile equilibrium. This wasn't just another detail. It was a moment that could redefine everything the trial had exposed so far, leaving jurors and viewers alike stunned. For viewers tuning in, this phase of the trial offers an unfiltered glimpse into the complexity of abuse and the fierce struggle for justice. It's a battle of narratives where every word, every hesitation, could tip the scales. The question is, will Cassie's unwavering testimony withstand the defense's onslaught? Or will the defense's attempts to rewrite the story succeed? Stay with us because the next revelation is about to turn this trial and the public's understanding completely on its head. The defense wasn't done yet. After the break, Ana Estabo returned with a fresh, sharper angle, digging deep into the earliest days of Cassie and Diddy's relationship. It was 2008, 2009. Cassie was barely 21, young and wide-eyed, while Diddy was already a global music and business titan, more than twice her age and holding all the power. Estabo handed a printout of the text to the judge, then fixed the jury with a subtle, confident smile that said she was about to change the narrative. She began reading aloud the messages, poetic, emotional, almost desperate in tone. "I love you so much it consumes my life. I'd fly anywhere for you. You are my world. You saved me." The courtroom felt the romance in the words, like something out of a love story. Then Estabo turned sharply to Cassie and asked if she had written those texts. Cassie looked down briefly, then met the court's gaze, steady and composed. "Yes," she said simply, "I wrote them." The defense had set their trap, painting Cassie not as a victim, but as a young woman deeply in love, devoted, and willing. But Cassie wasn't about to be boxed in by those words. Leaning forward, her voice steady and clear, she laid bare the truth behind the texts. "I was 21. I thought that was love," she said. She explained how early on, Diddy made her feel special, chosen, important. But that charm was a carefully crafted mask. "I was isolated. My family couldn't reach me. My phone was monitored. My mind was wrapped around him. That wasn't love. That was control." The mood in the courtroom shifted dramatically as those once sweet words twisted into a harrowing reality of manipulation. What sounded like passion now rang out as desperation, a young woman clutching at a false version of love that became her cage. "Yes, I said I'd fly anywhere for him," she admitted quietly, "because if I didn't, there were consequences." Her voice didn't break, but the weight of those words landed like shattered glass on everyone listening. This wasn't just about texts, it was a chilling pattern. Soft affection that slowly morphed into dependence, then total domination. For viewers, this moment strips away the glossy surface of celebrity romance and exposes the raw, brutal mechanics of control behind closed doors. It's a stark reminder that love can be weaponized, and the early signs of abuse are often disguised as devotion. Stay tuned, because if this revelation hits hard, the bombshells still to come will shake the very foundation of this trial. The defense pushed back fiercely, interrupting the prosecution, objecting to every word, trying desperately to rewrite the narrative. But the jury had already caught a glimpse of the truth that mattered most. Cassie wasn't denying the love she once felt. She was pulling back the curtain on the dark reality lurking beneath it. And the real game changer? Tomorrow, the court was set to hear from a new witness, an ex-employee with first-hand knowledge, ready to expose what really went on behind the locked doors of Diddy's empire. Electric tension crackled through the courtroom like a live wire, an atmosphere thick with anticipation and unease. What came next was a subject the media had only dared to hint at in hushed tones until now. But here, under oath and in front of the jury, it was laid bare. The infamous freak-offs. The phrase had already made waves in headlines, but its meaning was far more sinister than anyone outside the trial had imagined. During cross-examination, defense attorney Anna Estabo revealed a chain of chilling messages, some shockingly explicit, others cloaked in coded language but unmistakable in their intent. One text read, "Set the candles up, baby. Make it like last time." Another warned, "Get the pills." You know which ones. And yet another bluntly stated, "He's on the way. Make sure the room's ready." The words painted a disturbing picture of carefully orchestrated events, designed to control and manipulate. Cassie did not flinch. She confirmed every detail with quiet resolve, refusing to let the gravity of those messages derail her testimony. Her composure in the face of such harrowing evidence only deepened the courtroom's charged atmosphere. What seemed like coded party invitations were actually signs of a calculated, dangerous pattern, one that blurred the lines between consent and coercion, pleasure and power. For viewers, this revelation is a turning point, where the trial's darkest secrets begin to surface, forcing a reckoning with a hidden world that few dared to acknowledge. If the defense thought they could muddy the waters, they were dead wrong. The truth is coming out, and it's more explosive than anyone expected. Stick around, because what unfolds next promises to redefine everything this case stands for. What exactly were these freak-offs Diddy called? According to Cassie's testimony, they were chillingly orchestrated events involving sex, drugs, and even paid male sex workers. But the real shocker? Cassie was expected to prepare every detail: the soft lighting, the pillows, the candles, and the drugs. Norco, a potent opioid, was the drug of choice, not because she wanted it, but because Diddy demanded it. "I was taking Norco almost daily back then," she told the court, her voice steady but raw, "because I couldn't handle what I was being asked to do, sober." This wasn't just partying. It was a brutal routine of control and coercion. Defense attorney Ana Estabo tried to spin the story, probing if Cassie ever initiated these freak-offs. Her answer was immediate and unwavering: no, never. Then came the darkest moment. Estabo read a text message from Diddy. "You know I like them filmed. Why are you being weird about it?" The courtroom fell into a deadly silence as Cassie described how hidden cameras were sometimes set up without her knowledge, how she didn't realize until much later that those nights had been recorded. "It was about power, control, performance, not intimacy," she said flatly, shattering any illusion of consensual love. The defense tried to argue that maybe Cassie was compensated for her participation, attempting to blur the line between victim and willing participant. But Cassie's response was razor sharp and piercing. "I wasn't a sex worker. I was his girlfriend, and I was scared." The courtroom atmosphere shifted instantly. Months of public speculation, accusing her of complicity or lying, crumbled under the weight of her words. Under oath, she exposed the grim truth. These freak-offs were not consensual wild nights. They were cold, orchestrated violations, recorded and weaponized by a man who wielded all the power up. Her testimony was more than just facts. It was a powerful unraveling of a dangerous myth where fame, fortune, and charisma disguised a brutal pattern of abuse. The idea that money and celebrity automatically meant consent was exposed as a lie, as Cassie's words revealed the harrowing reality of manipulation behind the glamour. The court was now poised at a critical juncture as the prosecution prepared to call their next witness, a former employee who had cleaned up after these parties and was ready to testify about what really happened behind those closed doors. For viewers, this is a pivotal moment in the trial, a moment where the veneer of wealth and celebrity cracks, exposing a disturbing truth few dared to speak aloud. The revelations about freak-offs are just the beginning, and what comes next promises to be even more explosive. Stay tuned, because this story is far from over, and the next witness could change everything. The cross-examination unfolded with a brutal surgical precision that cut through every facade. Defense attorney Ana Estabo honed in on a cryptic message Cassie had sent. "I feel like I want to." On its own, the phrase seemed vague, almost innocent. But in the tense courtroom atmosphere, the implication was loaded, dark, unsettling, and open to interpretation. Estabo pressed hard, demanding Cassie explain what she meant. For the first time all morning, Cassie wavered. I can't say for sure," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "That message came from a really dark place. I was exhausted. I was lost." The subtle crack in her armor was enough to spark whispers in the gallery and raise eyebrows in the jury box. But the blows kept coming. Estabo's next question was a calculated jab. "Do you remember deleting a video from his phone?" Cassie's eyes fell, her nod slow and reluctant but undeniable. "I don't remember exactly what was in it, but it might have been a freak-off." The courtroom murmured with a sudden ripple of tension. Deleted footage, the very kind of evidence that could shift the entire trial, seemed to have vanished into thin air. Rather than knocking Cassie down, this moment exposed a raw vulnerability beneath her calm exterior. Her hands shook, and her voice cracked as she turned toward the judge, barely able to speak. "I need a break." The judge didn't hesitate. Recess was called. The jury filed out in silence, leaving an electric stillness hanging heavy in the air. It was in this charged pause that Diddy seized the moment. Calm, composed, he glanced back at his family seated behind him. His stoic mother, his watchful sons, and his twin daughters still fresh from prom night in elegant dresses. With a practiced smile, Diddy formed a heart with his hands and mouthed the words, "I love you." Was it a spontaneous gesture of affection or a carefully choreographed piece of damage control? For many watching, that quiet display wasn't just a father's loving moment. It was a carefully crafted public image designed to counterbalance the storm brewing in the courtroom. The contrast between the polished family tableau and the unraveling private drama couldn't have been starker. While Diddy projected strength and unity, behind closed doors, the trial was exposing fractures no smile could hide. The tension was palpable, the stakes higher than ever. This moment marked a turning point in the trial, where personal vulnerability met calculated performance, and the real battle for truth played out not just in testimony, but in every glance and gesture. Viewers watching knew this wasn't just courtroom drama. It was a fight over narrative, reputation, and justice. And as the trial resumed, everyone was left wondering, what other secrets were waiting just beneath the surface, ready to explode? This trial wasn't just about facts or legalities. It was a high-stakes battle over narratives, power, and control. Every word spoken, every subtle gesture caught on camera was being dissected with ruthless intensity. On one side stood Diddy, the global icon, polished and commanding, carefully managing the image he showed the world. On the other was Cassie, fighting to peel back the layers of fame and fortune to expose a much darker, more painful reality. The courtroom drama was electric, and the fallout was only beginning. What came next promised to shatter illusions and force everyone watching to rethink everything they thought they knew about this high-profile relationship. To truly grasp how things spiraled so far, the jury needed to see the full picture from the very beginning. After the break, Cassie returned to the stand, and the tone of questioning shifted sharply. How did she first meet Sean "Diddy" Combs? The story took everyone back to 2005, when Cassie was a young, ambitious woman hungry for a big break in the music industry. It was through her then-boyfriend, renowned producer Ryan Leslie, that she found her way into the orbit of Bad Boy Records. That's where two very different worlds collided, one of youthful promise and the other of established power. Cassie described their relationship in its early days as professional and even encouraging. Diddy, she said, was charismatic and supportive. "He believed in me before most people did," she told the court, her voice steady but reflective. But beneath that initial promise, the power dynamics were already shifting beneath the surface. Diddy was the second older man she had ever dated, and the imbalance was staggering. What began as mentorship slowly blurred into control, and the lines between professional and personal quickly became dangerously unclear. The courtroom was riveted as Cassie peeled back the layers of what it meant to be young, impressionable, and swept up by a larger-than-life figure. She revealed how early admiration and support evolved into manipulation and constraint, showing how easily power can corrupt even the most promising beginnings. The jury could almost feel the tension as Cassie recounted the gradual tightening of control, a story that went far beyond celebrity gossip to the very real human cost of being caught in someone else's shadow. As the questioning wrapped, it was clear this wasn't just a tale of two people. It was a clash of worlds, fame versus vulnerability, control versus freedom. The next phase of the trial was set to dive even deeper, promising explosive new revelations that could redefine not only their relationship, but also the public's understanding of power behind the glitz and glamour. Viewers were left on the edge, hungry to see what truths would surface next in this unfolding saga. The courtroom was gripped as Cassie painted a chilling portrait of her life under Diddy's control. Her career, once full of promise, rose and fell with his unpredictable moods. Friends were systematically pushed away, cut off from her world. Every detail, from her image to the music she made, down to where she was allowed to go, was dictated by him. "It wasn't love," Cassie said, voice cold and steady. "It was ownership." The jurors leaned forward, absorbing the stark reality behind the glittering facade of fame and glamour. For the first time, the jury got a raw glimpse of the toxic ecosystem Cassie was trapped inside. Not just a relationship, but a ruthless machine fueled by power and control. Here was a young woman, signed and silenced under the thumb of one of the biggest names in music, isolated and vulnerable in ways the public had never imagined. The layers peeled back revealed a world where success came at the price of personal freedom and dignity, a world where trust was weaponized and love was just a mask for domination. A heavy question hung over the courtroom. When the very man who controls your career and your life turns against you, where can you possibly turn? Cassie's testimony exposed a haunting truth. In this high-stakes game, she was utterly alone, trapped in a gilded cage with no clear way out. The power imbalance wasn't just unfair, it was devastating, suffocating, and completely one-sided. Despite this being only day 4 of the trial, the shockwaves had already begun to ripple through the public consciousness. Allegations of drug abuse, emotional manipulation, and recorded sexual encounters weren't just salacious headlines anymore. They were legal facts laid bare in a courtroom packed with tension. Hotel surveillance footage surfaced, and eyewitness testimonies about secret cameras sent chills through everyone present. Cassie's emotional breakdown revealed the crushing weight of the ordeal. Proof this wasn't some tabloid story, but a life unraveling in real time. But make no mistake, this was just the opening act. The courtroom drama was far from over, and the most explosive revelations were still to come. The trial promised to dig deeper, exposing a scandal that could redefine how the world views power, fame, and control in the entertainment industry. Viewers watching closely knew one thing for sure. This story was far from finished, and every moment held the potential to change everything. The prosecution isn't done yet. A lineup of key witnesses is waiting in the wings. Former staffers who say they were part of the effort to cover up the dark, hidden side of Diddy's world. These insiders promise to pull back the curtain on what really went on behind the scenes, revealing a reality far harsher than the public ever imagined. Their testimonies could be the game changers, shaking the foundations of a carefully guarded empire. On the other side, Diddy's legal team is not backing down. They're armed to the teeth with emails, texts, and decades' worth of meticulously curated public appearances designed to protect his image at all costs. Every detail has been polished, every narrative rehearsed. But as the trial intensifies, even the most carefully crafted stories can begin to crack when faced with mounting evidence and relentless scrutiny. So what happens when more explosive evidence surfaces? When secrets buried for years are dragged into the harsh light of day? Can Diddy's empire withstand this tidal wave of revelations, or will the weight of truth finally cause the whole narrative to unravel? The tension is electric, and the stakes have never been higher. Not just for the people in the courtroom, but for everyone watching this drama unfold. For viewers following this trial, the outcome remains uncertain, but one thing is undeniable. The silence inside the courtroom today is just a calm before the storm. The fight for truth is intensifying, and every new testimony, every piece of evidence, is another step closer to shattering the carefully maintained facade. This isn't just a trial, it's a seismic reckoning with power, control, and the price of fame. If you want to stay on top of every twist and turn, every shocking revelation, now is the time to subscribe and turn on notifications, because when the next bombshell drops, you won't want to miss a single moment of what's coming next. The story is far from over, and the truth is just getting started.